I realize there are people out there who might not always agree with President Biden. I don't always agree with President Biden. But the one thing I will say about the man is he's a class act. And after the debate, he came out and he admitted to having a bad debate performance. I never one time heard him say the game was rigged against him. I never one time heard him say the moderators was rigged against him. I never heard him accuse Trump of being on drugs. I never heard him call Trump names. Instead, he went out there, he stayed on message, he stayed on point, he went out there to the American people. But every word that he said since that debate has been under this microscope. And meanwhile, Trump can ramble on all day long about a battery and a shark, and nobody in the mainstream points at that and says, that seems a little bit unhinged to me. But President Biden sat down for an interview with Lester Holt. And of course, Lester just had to go right to the debate. Can you assure us this is never going to happen again? I mean, you think they would ask that to Trump when it comes about the election. You would think they would say, you're not going to incite another riot, are you? But no. Let's hold an 82-year-old man to a bad debate performance for the rest of his days. Take a look at this, though. Joe Biden's comeback was epic.
The question is, are you all on the same page? Are you seeing what they saw, which was moments of, frankly, that appeared to be, you appeared to be confused?
Lester, look, why don't you guys ever talk about the 28 lies he told? Where are you on this? Why didn't the press ever talk about that? 28 times it's confirmed he lied in that debate. I had a bad night. I wasn't feeling well at all. And I had been, without it making it, I screwed up. But
I just asked the question because the idea that you may or may not have seen what some of these other folks have seen, you're not on the same...
I'd have to see, I was there. I'd have to see it, I was there. And by the way, seriously, you won't answer the question, but why didn't the press talk about all the lies he told?
Well,
I haven't heard anything about that.
We have reported many of the issues that came up during that debate.
No, you haven't.
We'll provide you with them.
God love you.
Okay.
Now, I will say that I have saw some of the mainstream news sources calling out Trump's lies and pointing them out, but they won't do it with Trump sitting there. They won't bring him on and ask him to bring with him the evidence, the data, the research that he's done to back up the claims that he's made. He comes on, he talks, and they get out of the way and they let him talk. And I believe the main reason why that they never fact check him to their face is, number one, they don't have the balls. And number two, they realize if they do, that MAGA is just going to say that they're trying to take away his free speech. But folks, we cannot let MAGA have control of this argument and have control of this narrative. Because asking someone to back up what they're saying is not infringing upon their First Amendment. MAGA has got this stuff so twisted up nowadays that it's going to take sensible, reasonable people years to unravel the mess that they've got us into. I think back to my gigging days, traveling around playing music. We used to carry all of our cords in a box. And there was some nights we'd be in a real big hurry and we would roll up our cords and we'd throw them into a box. And when we would get to the next gig, I'm like, we didn't roll these up the right way. And we would sit there, we've got a big tangled up mess. And that's what I feel like it's going to be moving forward, trying to untangle this massive mess that we've made because we've let them somehow twist the argument into, if we hold this man to account and we ask him to back up what he's saying with evidence, then we're going to come off looking like we're infringing on his rights. It's absolutely ridiculous. But something that's even more ridiculous is Lester Holt wants to ask Biden about his temperament, ask Biden about his rhetoric. And could his rhetoric have been divisive and caused someone to do something terrible? I can't believe that Lester Holt had the audacity to ask this question to Joe Biden, but he sure as hell did. Here it is.
Really about language, what we say out loud and the consequences of those. You called your opponent an existential threat on a call a week ago. You said it's time to put Trump in the bullseye. There's some dispute about the context, but I think you appreciate that.
I didn't say crosshairs. I was talking about focus on. Look, the truth of the matter was, what I guess I was talking about at the time was, there was very little focus on Trump's agenda.
Yeah, the term is bullseye.
It was a mistake to use the word. I didn't say crosshairs. I meant bullseye. I meant focus on him. Focus on what he's doing. Focus on his policies. Focus on the number of lies he told in the debate. Focus. I mean, there's there's a whole range of things that, look, I'm not the guy that said, I want to be a dictator on day one. I'm not the guy that refused to accept the outcome of the election. I'm not the guy who said that wouldn't accept the outcome of this election automatically. You can't only love your country when you win. And so the focus was on what he's saying, and I mean, the idea.
But have you taken a step back and done a little soul searching on things that you may have said that could incite people who are not balanced?
Well, I don't think, look, how do you talk about the threat to democracy, which is real, when a president says things like he says? Do you just not say anything because it may incite somebody? Look, I have not engaged in that rhetoric. Now, my opponent is engaged in that rhetoric. He talks about there'll be a bloodbath if he loses, talking about how he's going to forgive all the, actually, I guess, suspend the sentences of all those who were arrested and sentenced to go to jail because of what happened in the Capitol.
You see, the problem with how Lester Holt framed that question is he didn't provide any context whatsoever. He didn't say that this was something that Joe Biden said to a private group of donors in private. He didn't say that. Joe Biden did not say that publicly into a live microphone. It might not have been the best choice of words to use, but in context, he was talking about keeping focus on Trump's policies and on Trump's actions. And the kid in Pennsylvania did not hear Joe Biden say that. So to frame the question that way was total bullshit. That's exactly how MAGA has been portraying it on Twitter. They've all been sharing that quote and acting like that Biden said that quote directly to the kid, and that's just not how it was. There was no context provided there. That was complete laziness on Lester Holt's behalf to frame the question that way and to try to compare the two and then say maybe you should tone down your temperament. Joe Biden has not resorted to the temperament that Donald Trump has. I've made previous videos showing all of the cruel things that Trump has said, all the hate-filled rhetoric that he said, the mocking and making fun of people. We've talked about all of that. We've talked about how that MAGA's entire platform is built on hate and cruelty. There is no unity. When they call for unity, folks, they just mean for them to unify. They're not calling for us to unify. They called us the enemy of the people. They said that we needed to be rooted out like vermin. That's how they look at us. So to sit and try to flip the script and hold Joe Biden to account over one word that he used in a private conversation and not hold Donald Trump to account for all of the things he said over the years is absolutely ridiculous to me. And Joe Biden reached out to the widow of the victim, the firefighter at Trump's rally, the guy that lost his life. He reached out to her. Now I'm reading here that she told the New York Times, I didn't want to talk to him. My husband was a devout Republican and he would not have wanted me to talk with him. Then she goes on to say, I support Trump. That's who I'm voting for, but I don't have ill will towards Biden. He didn't do anything to my husband. So, I mean, Biden had the decency to reach out to the family. She didn't want to take the phone call. That's her business. But last I've heard, when I sat down to make this video, Trump hasn't reached out. He went and played golf the next day. So, I mean, I'm tired of people trying to act like that President Biden is this guy that needs to improve upon his temperament when he's carried himself like a class act every step of the way. After what happened in Pennsylvania, he came out, he called for unity. He came out, he condemned the violence. He's always took the high road every time, and yet he's the one that they're holding under the microscope. He's the one that they're wanting to see act differently. It's just so glaring. The hypocrisy is so glaring, there's no way that I can't not point it out because it's right in front of our faces. The mainstream media and the narrative that Donald Trump painted that they were all against him and it's all fake news, that narrative's gone. They're all behind him 100% because they realize, like Trump does, that it's all about the ratings. If we can get the ratings, that's all it's about. They don't care about people like me and you. The Lester Holtz of the world does not give one flying damn about me or you or how we're going to live in this world. It's about ratings. How can I get ratings today? That's what they're about. And President Biden is a good man who's been an effective leader, and he's a class act, and I applaud him for it. And I'm voting for him come November. because I still believe Project 2025 is a threat to democracy. And when I say that, that's not me calling for anyone to harm anyone. That's just me pointing out the obvious.